swagger.
Hey, welcome into the Five Hole Fantasy Hockey Podcast. I am your host, Alan, and we're trucking right along in our Vibe Check series here with JD Young of Locked On Sharks to get a vibe check on the season so far and what we might see down the stretch. JD, the good news doesn't stop with Macklin Celebrini there in the Olympics. What, 2 goals and an assist so far, playing with a couple of the best guys on the planet?
Yeah, I mean, better than I could have even imagined. It's just so great to watch a budding superstar get to play with guys like McDavid and McKinnon. Just an absolute treat so far in the Olympics.
God. Yeah, and I love the story that he was, freaked out because he got in the penalty box, and Drew Daddy was like, "No, man, like you got some of the best penalty, you got the best PK in all of Canada behind you." It was just thought that was a great story. But yeah, Sharks have one of the best schedules if you are playing up till the end, weeks 23 to 24. Kind of wanted to dive into this team and working on others here and see what we can expect on the stretch. So first off, JD, how'd you get involved with Locked On? And I see you have the Reef out there, which I think, if I read that right, it's a blog.
Yeah. So, I'll start with the Reef. That's kind of my blog where I really focus on like Sharks prospects, especially since the Sharks have been so bad for so long. It's a nice way to kind of just dive into a lot of like the Sharks prospects and guys who are going to be hopefully making an impact sooner rather than later. But I've been with Locked On. I started in February 2020, which is perfect timing when you're starting an everyday podcast to join and then of course everything gets shut down a month later. But I worked for Fear the Fin before that, and then I jumped over to Locked On, and I've been there for 6 years now as the host of Locked On.
Nice. And then the Sharks. So the Sharks have slipped a bit. They're now at 58 points, 5 back from either the Ducks for wild card or Kraken for third in the Pacific. Do we think that they're still trying to play interesting hockey, trying to make a push to at least get the playoff experience?
Yeah, 100%. This right when you have guys like Celebrini and you have Will Smith and you have all these young players, we've seen the way Mike Greer, how he operates. Right, you look at the way how he wanted to have like Askarov last year, playing meaningful games with the Barracuda. A lot of their young prospects playing meaningful games with the Barracuda, make a playoff push there. He wants the same thing for the Sharks here, where having Celebrini, having Smith, Eklund, a lot of these guys going through their first potential playoff push. I think it's going to do wonders for them with next year. Now, I think the expectations will be a playoff spot. Just kind of getting that out of the way right now. So I 100% believe.
Depending on what happens in the offseason. I mean, right now, the Pacific or out west is one of the places where it's, if you got a good team, you can make a playoff spot, and it's pretty easy. Well, not easy, but you don't have the Thunderdome of the Atlantic or even, the Eastern Conference as a whole. But yeah, we finally saw Kiefer Sherwood play his first game as a Shark on the 4th, right before the Olympic break. And they had him on the top line with Smith and Celebrini, the power play 2, which makes sense to me. Do you really think he's a top line player, that's something that holds rest of the season?
Probably. They've been trying to kind of find that third player to play with Smith and Celebrini for a good chunk of the season. We've seen guys like Colin Graf up there, who that line's played pretty well together as well. But I think Sherwood, though, provides a little bit of what they're looking for, that forechecking monster. Go get the puck, and then give the puck to Smith and Celebrini, and then go to the net. We'll set you up there. So I can see that working, but I do think Sherwood will bounce around like Warsofsky changes the lines as often as he changes his underwear. So it's hard to project, but I expect Sherwood get the first crack coming out of the break to play with Smith and Celebrini.
Gotcha. And that's what, man, it's funny to see that across like all these different teams. Like, yeah, man, our coach changes lines all the time. Like, yeah, I guess it's one of the easiest levers to pull there. But yeah, Celebrini, man, just unreal Olympics, unreal sophomore season, 81 points in 55 games. He's lapped everyone else on the team with points, pacing for 121. He's a superstar. I mean, do we think this is the breakout, or even at, before that 200, 300 game mark, or is there another level here that he could hit?
I think this is the breakout. Like there could be another level if the Sharks power play ever kind of figures itself out. Because this power play, they get a ton of opportunities, but they're not very efficient with their power play. So if the power play ever, and I know we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but if the power play ever figures itself out, that could be that like next level for Celebrini, where you're potentially pushing like 140, 150, where he just has that monster peak year for him. But I think this is going to kind of be the standard for Celebrini going forward, right? Especially as his team continues to get better. Will Smith gets better. You have more guys added like Chernyshov and Quentin Musty. Like I do think that this team, or for Celebrini, I think this is going to kind of be the baseline for kind of going forward for him.
Oh, I was so bummed when they sent Chernyshov back down. Like I was like, he's killing it. Like but I get it. Your team gets healthy. He's someone that doesn't have to pass through waivers and you risk someone taking him. But yeah, I mean, that was kind of my thought, was like, yeah, he's doing this alone, but how much better could he, are we looking at like a 150 point guy if some of these other guys can really get going, and he's lined with, 80 point guys, 70 point guys. That probably, I would say that moves the ceiling. I don't know if we agree there, or
potentially, and it's like we've seen, because like Smith is going to be staple to him, right? We've seen that pairing, and I think Smith, I mean, he's basically a point per player guy right now at the age of 20. So if Smith continues to his growth and development, and they find that other winger that you're putting with, I think that's when you could really see it. But again, I think going back to the power play, which is just so inefficient, I think that's going to be the key for Celebrini kind of hitting that next level points wise.
And then again, perfect transition here. So top power play. I mean, we've seen Klingberg there for most of the season. That was kind of, I think, what we all assumed he was signing for. Sharks probably wouldn't make the playoffs, but hey, you showcase Klingberg, want a 1-year deal, trade him for some picks, help you rebuild, retool. But we've also seen Orlov get some looks. And right before the break, they tried a 5-forward unit. I mean, do we think there's some stability there down the stretch, or is this all trying to, like you said, get the power play going and bump scoring up even more?
I don't think there's going to be some stability at all, to be honest, with the power play. I think they're going to continue to throw things at the wall. Even before the break, Warsawski talked about how they want to start getting Sam Dickinson involved in the power play here as well. So he could be a potential, maybe he starts on power play too, but he could be getting into the fray here as well. But yeah, I don't think there's going to be any stability. The power play, they've been trying to find a quarterback for that power play forever. And Klingberg's had his moments, but it's really hasn't looked super great. Now, I think honestly the power play has looked better with Orlov on it, because I think he's more of just kind of a natural point guard. Like, get here, let me just keep the puck moving and get out of the way, compared to Klingberg, who I think tries to do a little bit too much on the power play, especially when you have Celebrini and Smith out there. So who knows? Sorry, it's not going to answer your question very well, but
no, I mean, that is an answer, man. That there is no stability. So it's like, okay,
no stability. Yes.
We as fantasy managers can always kind of keep an eye out for, okay, like you said, Dickinson is getting a shot. Man, it's been hard to find someone to replace Jake Wallman there, but I get it, right? They got some stuff back for him. You got to make that trade. I don't know. I'm fingers crossed still. I'm hoping Mr. Outside Hire of Dougie Hamilton, man. Jersey may or may not move him depending on what happens with Luke Hughes. I mean, do you think there's a chance they try to make that work? We heard about it, kind of in the off season, but he didn't want to waive at the time. Maybe he's soured to Jersey and he might want out at this point. Do you think they try to push for that trade again?
I could see Greer definitely circling back with that, and the Sharks are definitely in a much better spot, right? You go back to the offseason. If you're Dougie Hamilton, right, you're going on this Devils team that was a lot of people projected to kind of take that next step and be this huge, kind of be this a force in the Eastern Conference. And the Sharks were, of course, the worst team in the NHL the past two seasons running. So it definitely makes sense for Hamilton to be like, why would I go there right now? I could see the Sharks circling back, but I still don't know, because this whole Sharks team is very vibes based. Like it's a lot of guys who are just kind of like, we're trying to figure things out here and have a good time. And not that Dougie Hamilton's a bad guy, but we know he's just kind of his own cat. Like he's just this different cat, right? And kind of does his own thing. So I don't know if maybe it's the right fit. Like when it comes to the locker room, and he like on ice, he would definitely though provide what the Sharks are missing, I think, and maybe you make it work. But I don't know, man. It just I like the more I've thought about it, the more I'm just kind of like, I don't know if it makes sense right now for San Jose for that move. Like it's a perfect bridge option if you're looking for someone while you kind of wait for some of your younger players to continue to develop. But for this team that's just all built on friendship and vibes, I don't know if Hamilton's the right guy to throw in there.
Sure. No, and I mean, so again, sometimes that's an option. It was just like, how many teams do we see were just quote in on Panarin and just like, well, where would he fit? Then I get that. Sometimes that makes sense. It just UFA in 28 fits right under where your cap space is. Like that would have been perfect. But oh yes, a question I didn't have in my notes here. So it seems like Askarov's kind of been getting most of the run this season, but we've seen some more of Ned lately. Do we think that they'll do more of a 1-to-1, 1-to-2 split down the stretch, or is Askarov the starter and we're just kind of letting him rest up?
I think Askarov's a starter. We're still continue. Ned had a really great January, and Askarov kind of struggled. But Askarov was getting like all the tough assignments compared to Nedeljkovic. And Nedeljkovic, not to take anything away from Nedeljkovic, you played very great in January before the break here. But I still think it's Ned's net. Like the way the Sharks have invested so much time and effort and draft capital and resources into him, and like we've seen the highs. And even some of the games before the break, Askarov played extremely well. Maybe not got the results that they wanted. You look at like that Oilers game where he was like standing on his head before everything collapsed. And since that run, like the Sharks just really couldn't get anything going. So I still think it's Askarov's net going forward. I like, but Nedeljkovic is going to get his fair share of games too as well. So
nice. So even though they might be buyers here shortly come deadline, any guys that you think kind of ear to the ground might move out ahead of the deadline? Maybe an older guy like Toffoli, who I don't know, to me hasn't delivered as far as fantasy, like what I would have drafted him for, which is just a ton of shots, prime deployment. He's moved down the lineup. Like any guys we think could be part of a deal to buy up toward deadline?
Like Toffoli, no, because he's also got like full no move clause, and his wife's from the Bay Area, so he wanted like they came there for a purpose to kind of shepherd that next. So like don't expect Toffoli to kind of get like I think for Toffoli it's gonna be kind of settling into that new role as kind of more of a secondary option. But as for guys who might be moved out, I think look at the blue line for the Sharks. I think they want to try to kind of thread the needle of being both buyers and sellers, or moving out some of these old parts that aren't going to be part of the team's future. You get like a guy like Timothy Liljegren, who I know isn't going to do anything for your fantasy, but could be a potential move out. And so I expect guys like that, maybe a Mario Ferraro as well. They've been dangling Mario Ferraro for it feels like 3 years at this point now. So that's probably going to be where they're going to be focusing, is trying to find some defensemen that can be part of this next wave and help upgrade this defense, which desperately needs some help. So that's where I think most of my career's work is going to be, is trying to upgrade the blue line here.
Gotcha. No, and Mario Ferraro, definitely a guy I've heard also that could be moved. Was he pending UFA?
He's a pending UFA. Like Liljegren's a pending UFA. Klingberg's a pending UFA. And then Ferraro, all pending UFAs. The Sharks actually only have Sam Dickinson and Dmitry Orlov as signed defensemen for next season. So they're going to have to do some work on the blue line. You'll have some guys like Eric Polkamp, who playing at Denver right now, who I expect to sign his ELC when his season's over. And he could be playing at the end of the season here. But I do think, though, they're going to be trying to find some young defensemen who can really upgrade this unit. So
there we go. And so, I'd say that kind of transitions into the next question perfectly. So any changes to the lineup we might see? So you mentioned you're big on prospects. This is perfect. Like, who are some guys that, might get a shot at that top power play? Or if Sherwood doesn't work out, like maybe they, do we see Chernyshov again, top line, and anyone else we should keep an eye on, kind of watch list?
Yeah, I think Chernyshov 100%. As soon as the trade deadline is over and the rosters can expand, I think Chernyshov's getting called up. He was excellent before he got sent down, and only it basically got sent down because of a numbers game, and has been playing very well for the Barracuda in his time back in the AHL. I fully expect him to be back up and then playing on that line with potentially Michael Misa and William Eklund. We know Chernyshov and Misa played together at Saginaw and already have amazing chemistry. And then you got add a guy like Eklund with his playmaking ability, and I think that's going to be the Sharks' kind of future second line there going forward. So they'll probably want to kind of let that line continue to grow and cook, and hopefully start to see Michael Misa playing more than 12 minutes a night here down the stretch, because he's been very productive in a limited time. And I think all Sharks fans are kind of waiting for him to kind of get the training wheels taken off. So I expect Chernyshov to be back. Like I said, I think Eric Polkamp, depending on whenever his season is done with at University of Denver, is going to come in. We'll see. I'm very interested to see his deployment if and when he signs. But as for some of the Barracuda guys, I think a guy like Philip Beestead will probably make his NHL debut as well. And then Luca Cagnoni, who has got some NHL games last year. He could be, if Orlov or Dickinson and Klingberg don't work on the power play, look for Luca Cagnoni, who's run last year. He ran the best power play in the AHL, and this year the Barracuda are now the second best AHL or power play in the AHL, despite losing Andrew Podorowski, who was the AHL MVP last year. Cagnoni, like, the production numbers aren't down, but it's just very much snake bitten. Like, he's scored 11 goals on the power play last season, but this year has just kind of had some of that regression, but still has been very efficient with the power play. So he could be a guy that comes in and maybe gets a crack at power play one if they're really trying to find something to try to help boost that going down the stretch run. Yeah. So.
And then see who's someone we might be underrating. I know it's pretty much the Macklin Celebrini show and Friends, but like who's someone that like maybe we're missing that could pop off and end up with like a 65, 70 plus point season?
I mean, this year, Smith is the guy, right? If you're looking for a guy who's going to hit 65, 70 points for this year. I think Michael Misa, like I mentioned before, right, where he has been very productive in a limited role. He's going to be the Sharks' second line center, I would assume, next season, with Alex Wenberg sliding down to that third line. But I think Misa's the guy where you're really waiting for him to kind of get the training wheels off. And it's just mostly been the coaching staff. It was just like, we're only going to play him, 10, 11, 12 minutes a night here, but he has been productive in those minutes. So if you start seeing him in that 16, 17, 18 minutes a night, I think that's where you're going to see Misa really start to take off here. And he has played well, like I said, in that time. So, and then I think another guy just to keep an eye on is Sam Dickinson. Like I said, he's probably going to get a crack at power play one. He's their best defensive prospect right now. I don't know if you call him a prospect anymore, that he's played kind of 50 games in the NHL, but I think he could be a guy where you haven't seen the production there, but he's been playing a lot with like the third and fourth line. Now, if he starts getting more opportunities with Celebrini, with Misa, and some of these other guys, I think you can start to see the production start to really rise with Sam Dickinson.
Gotcha. And then I feel probably beating the horse at this point, but anyone that we think might be one injury away from like just prime deployments, 16 plus minutes a night, like something happens to Will Smith, something happens to Orlov, like who is it, maybe a prospect or, someone in the lineup today that could suddenly jump back up to top line, top power play?
I think Chernyshov, right? We saw Will Smith got injured. Chernyshov gets called up and he gets placed on the line with Macklin Celebrini, and they let that line go. And Chernyshov was excellent for San Jose. He's actually still the only Sharks player who has a positive Corsi for this season right now at like 52%. But yeah, I think Chernyshov is the guy. If you're looking for someone who's if an injury away from really seeing prime deployment, I think Igor Chernyshov.
Gotcha. And this one wasn't in my notes, but are the Sharks in on anyone else? Like, I think Sherwood kind of came out of nowhere. That was not the team I expected to go after him, but anyone else the Sharks might be in on?
No idea. Like, it's
okay.
Because their needs right now are so defensive. Like, you feel pretty solid about their forward group here. but like nobody's really selling defensemen at the deadline. I've heard like Braden Schneider from the Rangers, but like, is that really an upgrade on a guy like Mario Ferraro? And yes, Schneider's only 24 and maybe in a new situation, he could maybe start to thrive here. But I think we kind of know who he is at this point. So it'll be interesting to see what Mike Grier does here, because like, I think everybody's looking for defense and nobody's willing to sell any of their defensemen right now. So
right. Yeah. I mean, even the Pens at the beginning of the season, we, gently used Erik Karlsson, but even then, like, I don't think they move him now. But yeah, just kind of wrapping up here. Anything you want to plug, or where are all the locations people can find you?
Of course, you can find Locked On Sharks wherever you listen to podcasts, and you can watch on YouTube as well at Locked On Sharks. You can find the show on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and on TikTok at Locked On Sharks as well. And then you can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at My Fry Hole.
Cool. Yeah. Well, then I will go ahead for music. Thanks everyone for listening. Thank you, JD, for being on the show. And I got more of these lining up as we speak. But yeah, we will catch you next time, and take care of yourselves and each other.